Hello everyone, I am Dream Shakes and welcome to the Rouge character guide. So you guys actually didn't vote on this one, but so many people asked in the comments for Rouge that I decided we were just going to go ahead and make a Rouge guide. So let's get right into things and talk about Rouge's abilities. Rouge's abilities consist of the sensors as well as the slide. We're going to go ahead and talk about the sensors first. The sensors are a device that Rouge can place down to detect Sonic.exe's location when he steps on them. The way to know whether these sensors are activated or not is whether they have a pink outline around them or not. When a sensor has a pink outline, you can see it from afar or up close, but either way you know that it's activated and that Sonic.exe can be detected. When you notice that a sensor doesn't have an outline around it, it either means one of two things. Either it's currently being placed, in which case you should know that, but if you see that it's not got an outline from afar, then it means that it has been deactivated. When a sensor has been deactivated, you'll gain it back to your inventory and will be able to replace it somewhere else. Rouge gets a matter of 8 sensors that she can put wherever she wants, and there are a couple methods of doing so, but I'm going to talk about that later in the video. Sensors not only pick up on Sonic.exe, but they also pick up on minions, so be careful of this, because when minions activate a sensor, it will activate and act the exact same way as if it detected Sonic.exe, and you will need to replace it. Teammates are also outlined when they step on a sensor, so keep this in mind as well. They'll be outlined in blue, while Sonic.exe or minions will be outlined in red. Decoys do not activate sensors, but when Sonic.exe is invisible and gets detected, he will still be outlined. So if you're Sonic.exe, you have no reason to be invisible when you've been detected by a sensor. The sensors pick up on Sonic.exe and detect him for a matter of 11 seconds, while also granting Rouge stealth for 11 seconds, meaning when he is invisible, he can't find Rouge either. That's about it for the sensors. We'll talk about the placement more in a second. Let's get on to slide. So slide is Rouge's movement ability that allows her to do a quick slide to get away from Sonic.exe. It doesn't get you very far, it's kind of just to buy you a little bit of extra time given that it has invincibility frames, but it doesn't do that much overall. The nice part about the slide is that it does have one of the shortest cooldowns with only an 11-second cooldown before it's able to be used again, but it makes sense given that it doesn't really do much to buy you time. It's important to note that the slide animation will be cancelled if you fall off a surface, meaning that if you go to slide off of a surface, it will stop. If you go and run into a spring, it will stop, so do keep this in mind when you are sliding. That's about it for the slide though. We need to talk about sensor placement as well as how you can use the slide. So one of the most important aspects you can currently know about the slide and the sensors is that it can be cancelled. The sensor placement can be cancelled by sliding. You press F to place a sensor and you press E to slide. If you slide while you're placing a sensor, it will cancel the animation of placing it and will still end up placing the sensor, so do keep that in mind. You can actually have Sonic.exe pull up on you, stop placing your sensor, and it will still activate. The most important aspect of Rouge though is how she works with a team, which is where her sensors come in. One of the things I've learned from the Sonic.exe community is that you can actually double place a sensor on a spring. And the reason I say on a spring is the probably best spot you could put a sensor is on a spring, as it's going to be the main way of getting around. Sensors are typically placed on springs, but you can do this strategy just about anywhere. The reason I say double place is because you can actually place 2 sensors on the same spring and it doesn't matter. It'll still have the same effect while only activating one. This means you don't have to waste as much time running around the map to spots you've already placed sensors at, and it will sometimes double activate and just give you that extra bit of help. This is a great strategy to learn. Always be ready to double place in areas that you know are hotspots, and also know where your hotspots are at. As Rouge, you should be ready to know where Sonic.exe is most likely going to be at, because that's where you're going to want your sensors to be at. When you have big groups running around the same area, it's important that they know where Sonic.exe is at, and usually you're going to find them in specific hotspots. Usually place your sensors at springs, but sometimes you can also place them in the general area of a hotspot and it'll still work to the exact same effect, so keep that in mind. I don't recommend placing sensors in like far off areas, because even if you get the lucky chance that he like trails off on one survivor and goes after them, and then you're like, oh, he's halfway across the map, what does that really do for you unless you're trying to help someone out? And I mean, he's probably not going to trail off that often because people just usually stay in hotspots to help each other out. Rouge is one of those characters that you need to help your team with recon, but you should also probably keep her in the back court. Rouge is not a character with any stun abilities. She's probably not going to keep Sonic.exe Sonic.exe occupied for long. Somehow every Rouge main is just cracked at keeping Sonic.exe busy typically, unless they're an absolute noob. It's just one of the two. There's no in between with Rouge, but you usually are not going to be as good at keeping him busy as some stunner is. So keep Rouge in the backcourt, constantly placing sensors and running away from Sonic.exe, always knowing his location and keeping herself safe. The main thing that Rouge is going to do is be team support, help out, make sure that everyone knows where Sonic.exe is at, and this can help everyone to help each other out. Rouge is one of those characters that benefits from working with a team, but you probably shouldn't play her solo or anything like that. Make sure you have a big squad when you play her. I hope this Rouge guide did help. If I missed anything, leave it in the comments, and I will see you all in the next one.